Baseball is making some mighty big news. A field correspondent brings banner headlines in Cincinnati by doubling as managing editor. A Boston photographer captures Minnesota beating a tight deadline for the front page. A bold type in Baltimore reaches for a long section and resets his fine print. Dateline Cleveland, where the feature in this pullout is that nobody is stopping the presses. Extra, extra! This supplement includes a special edition for the funny pages. A Cub reporter answers a want ad and gets the job done on assignment. So hear all about it, y'all, on This Week in Baseball. National League Panorama. In Cincinnati, two words said it all. Pete Rose returned to the Reds as player-manager after 5.5 years in Philadelphia and Montreal. He was greeted with a hero's welcome from his hometown, where he spent 16 years as one of the main cogs in a big red machine that dominated the majors in the mid-70s. The players were just as pleased as the fans.
He was my idol when I was a kid. He's my idol now, and he always will be my idol. I just like the way he played the game. He gave 110%. And he busted his tail every day, and it doesn't take any ability to hustle, and that's what he did every day, day in and day out, and I think that's what he demands from his players.
I think it's one of the best moves Cincinnati Reds have been making, especially this year. We had a rough time. They rooted for Pete. They was waiting to see Pete play, and I never see this happen this year.
I was a Reds fan when I was a kid, and I'll be a Reds fan when I'm an old man. And it's just something that's in your blood, and I think there's many people in this town that feel the same way about the Reds that I do.
In his first at-bat, Rose rapped out a run-scoring single against Chicago, and a misplay allowed him to display the fire that continues to flash at 43 years of age. Pete won his first game as manager. And although the Cubs came back to win the next two, Rose still sizzled, going 8 for 15 in the series with 5 RBIs. You know, it would be only fitting if he broke Ty Cobb's all-time hit mark in a Cincinnati uniform. Welcome home, Pete. The Houston Astros were all aglow after picking up 9 straight wins, including a 3-game sweep that left Pittsburgh hanging out to dry. Enos Cabell hit .462 in the series and raised his average near 300. Rookie Jim Pankovich provided the difference in Game 1, stroking a 2-run single in the 10th inning for his first game winner. Dolly got the win in relief to go 8-4, and he also picked up a save in the finale. For the Pirates, Game 2 looked a lot like Game 1. Bill Doran had Houston humming right off the bat with a leadoff triple. Doran's 14-game hitting streak ended in the opener, but he went 4 for 9 in the next 2 games. Overall, the Astros assaulted Pirate pitching with 34 hits in the series. Lacoste locked up the win in Game 2 with 7 innings of shutout ball for a 7-3 mark. Houston happiness in Game 3 came courtesy of Joe Niekro, who won his 10th game in his last 12 decisions for a 12-9 mark. Phil Garner got the game winner with an 8th-inning home run, and the Astros rolled into 3rd place in the West. It took the Chicago Cubs to stop the Astros streak and set off on a 4-game run of their own. tossed a complete game to go 11-5, thanks in part to 3 double plays. Moreland got his 6th game-winning hit in 2 weeks, going 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Ron Cey also drove in 3 with his 21st home run of the year. That gave the Penguin 3 homers in 3 games and 8 in 21 games. Cincinnati felt Chicago's heat, too, when the Cubs really teed off. Bosley was sent up to pinch hit with the score tied, and he soon silenced Reds rooters with a 3-run homer to win the ball game. George Frazier fired 5 innings of shutout ball in relief to earn the victory for a 4-2 mark since joining the Cub club. Sutcliffe just kept on sailing, winning number 9 in a row with 8 strikeouts to go 11-1 for Chicago. Cub bats kept on exploding. 39 runs on 46 hits in the 4 wins. The Cubs appear to be pulling out in the East, and they might be difficult to catch. The Montreal Expos pulled out on a West Coast road trip and got their act in gear with a 6-game winning streak. Andre Dawson was dynamite with back-to-back game winners and home runs in 3 straight games. The Hawk hit better than .350 during the streak, including 5 runs scored and 5 batted in. Charlie Lee lasted 8 innings against San Francisco and improved his record to 15-8. Giant fans couldn't bear to watch the defensive play of center fielder Tim Raines. Hang in there, Rock. That-a-way, boy. Raines also shined at the plate, batting .444 during the streak, with 7 runs scored, 5 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases. Rookie Joe Hesketh won his first Major League game in his first start, shutting out San Diego through 7 1/3 innings and striking out 6, resulting in Montreal rising above 500 for the first time in more than a month. Now, let's open the notebook for this week in baseball's TWIB notes from around the National League. Philadelphia's trade for Al Oliver paid off in his first game when he lined a 2-run double for his new team that helped beat his old team, because the Phillies were in San Francisco when the trade was made, so Oliver just changed uniforms before he changed cities. Now it's time for this week's Volkswagen quiz, brought to you by the 1984 models. It's not a car, it's a Volkswagen. Atlanta's Dale Murphy was a double-dealing man in a win over St. Louis, going 5 for 5 with 3 doubles. That put Murphy among the National League leaders with 24 two-baggers and gave him a career total of 145. Now, for this week's quiz, can you name the player who holds the Major League record for career doubles? Stay tuned for a man whose numbers speak for themselves. American League picture. In Boston, the Red Sox tried to foul up Minnesota, but things rolled right for the Twins. Frank Viola kept up his winning ways, improving his record to 14-10 with his 10th victory in his last 13 decisions. Castillo came back from injury for his first start of the season, and he came back strong. Just one hit allowed over 6 innings for victory. Rick Lysander locked up only his second save of the season in Game 1 of a doubleheader, but then returned to notch another in the nightcap. The Twins called all the right signals on defense, turning 9 double plays in the 5-game series. Minnesota moved into full swing with 54 base hits in the series. Mickey Hatcher hit in every game, batting .524 against Boston with 6 RBIs, including a game winner. Gary Gaetti also hit in all 5 games to extend his hitting streak to 16. You know, not many folks would have predicted that in late August, Minnesota would be tightening its grip on first place in the Western Division. But that's the case, and the Twins are popping with power. Baltimore stood tall in the East with 4 straight wins, and the best news was a 3-game sweep of the slumping California Angels, whose bats were sawed off by pitchers like Mike Flanagan, back in the win column for a 10-11 mark after stopping a personal 5-game losing streak. Mike Boddicker tossed a 4-hitter for his second straight shutout. Win number 5 in a row for Boddicker, who increased his record to 15-8. Also flying high were Baltimore bats. Eddie Murray unloaded on California with 5 for 10 hitting, and he's having yet another outstanding year. Among the league leaders with 22 homers, 89 RBIs, and a batting average above .310. Gary Renicky was right on, hitting .375 against the Angels with 2 homers and 6 RBIs. Rick Dempsey broke out of a slump with a binge. 4 for 11 in the series with 4 RBIs on 3 home runs. 2 of them were game winners.
You always have in the back of your mind that since you haven't been playing well, that if you don't bear down, things are going to turn around on you again. And we swung the bats like the Orioles can swing the bat, and I just hope we can finish out the season the same way that we can. We've all got our mind set on catching the 2 teams in front of us right now.
No simple task, but remember, the Orioles are usually strongest in September. In Cleveland, a sudden turn in fortune for Indian fans, who savored an 8-game win streak. Andre Thornton gave the Tribe a last-at-bat victory for the 2nd straight day against Toronto with a 2-run double that capped a 4-run 9th inning. It was game winner number 11 for Thornton. Milwaukee then came to town for 3 games and saw more of the same. Bert Blyleven boosted his record to 13-5 with a little help from his friends. His next start produced win number 14. Ernie Camacho came on to collect the save, and later added his 17th as Cleveland continued on its victorious march. The Indians drew a dramatic design for victory in the next game when Mel Hall batted in the bottom of the 9th with the score tied and a man on first. There it is. It's going, and it is gone. And the Indians continue to play above the .500 level since the All-Star break. Now, let's review this week in baseball's TWIB notes from around the American League. Oakland's Carney Lansford was finally stopped after a 24-game hitting streak, which tied the Mets' Hubie Brooks for the major's longest this year. The 1981 league batting champ of Boston hit almost .350 during the streak to raise his average 20 points. New York Yankee rookie Joe Cowley had the right stuff against California, striking out 13 Angels in a complete game win for a record of 5-1. But a Boston rookie was even righter. Roger Clemens punched out 15 against Kansas City, most by a Red Soxer since Bill Monbouquet's 17 against Washington in 1961. Now, let's strike up the answer to this week's Volkswagen quiz. Tris Speaker holds the Major League record for career doubles with 793, all in the American League, most with Boston and Cleveland. Stan the Man Musial holds the National League record and ranks second all-time with 725 doubles in 22 seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals. Both Speaker and Musial are in baseball's Hall of Fame. Here we go, folks. Step lively, cause baseball's foot soldiers perform fearsome feats in the field. But it's hard to toe the line and stay in step. So let's step out on some Major League missteps. Want to get back on track? Well, you got to catch the beat, get out of your seat, and put your best foot forward. High step it. But big leaguers, like the rest of us, sometimes seem to have two left feet. Man, take a load off your feet. Might help you bounce back next time. And now some tricks of the trade. Ball-handling big leaguers with an innate trait to coordinate. Up first, New York Met Keith Hernandez. Atlanta Brave Glenn Hubbard. Baltimore's Cal Ripken. Los Angeles Dodger Greg Brock. The Braves again with Jerry Royster. St. Louis Cardinal Willie McGee. New York Yankee Dave Winfield. Mark Brohard, Milwaukee Brewers. Ouch. Dwayne Murphy, Oakland A's. Detroit Tiger Chet Lemon. Carney Lansford, another A. Ben Ogilvy, a Brewer pursuer. Seattle's Phil Bradley. Herman Rivera, Los Angeles, and San Francisco's Manny Trio to Bob Brenly out and over. When Los Angeles hosted the Olympics, Dodger Stadium hosted baseball as a demonstration sport in the summer games. Teams from 8 nations participated, but the action was televised around the world. And for the millions of people who weren't familiar with baseball, broadcasters like Dave Sitton were at the mic to explain it.
What we did is really read down. Most people try to prepare for doing a sporting event by reading as much information as they could. Having done a number of American baseball broadcasts, I didn't want to take for granted that anybody south of the equator would understand exactly what I was talking about.
Sitton brought the game to non-baseball countries like Pakistan and New Zealand by laying it out straight and simple.
The next pitch is fouled off to the left side. Unlike cricket, when you have 2 running stations, in baseball you have, of course, 3 bases, and the object to get around the bases and back home. So after a batter puts the ball in play with a hit ball fair, it becomes more or less a track meet.
Spreading like wildfire, so I think in all it won't be all too long before the whole world will be watching baseball matches.
Japan beat the U.S. for the gold medal, although the U.S. won the exhibition series. And now it's time for an Old Spice salute, brought to you by 24-hour strong Old Spice deodorant and antiperspirant. This week, Old Spice salutes Kirk Gibson of Detroit, whose 20th home run against Seattle was one of Gibson's 16 game-winning hits, a Tiger record. He's also stolen 24 bases, the first big leaguer this year to reach the 20 home run, 20 steal plateau.
You just put me in there, let me get in the everyday grind, and I recognize pitches a lot better. I feel a lot better, and even though you're tired physically, as long as you're mentally strong, and you know, you can still keep your game together.
He also got 2 of Detroit's 20 hits against Oakland, the Tiger 20-year game high. Congratulations, Kirk. And that's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.